All right, hey guys, this is High Priestess Jamila. So, I needed to come in and speak to. This is actually for clients and as well as students or anybody that is becoming overwhelmed with what is going on right now. Okay, so I wanted to come and speak to y'all about that. Give me a second. I gotta run in here and get these offerings laid out. Bear with me a moment. Bear with me for just one moment. Okay. All right. So, um, here's what's going on. A lot of you guys have an overwhelming amount of spiritual problems that have either been left dormant, things that have been um, things that have been dormant, or either things that have not been dealt with. And a lot of these things, especially as we go towards the full moon, um, they are being unveiled. And along with the spiritual issues that you have, on top of that, um, you're dealing with the regular everyday today issues. Okay. So, and then also we're dealing with people who keep conjuring up in tranquil spirits. And so let me get into real quick what an intranquil spirit is and why they should never be invoked for any reason. Um, and so, listen, I'm not trying to put down any other spiritual practitioner, but this is my level of understanding of it. If you don't agree with it, then that's fine. But an intranquil spirit or an inconsolable spirit is it's the spirit of a person, which is very different from a deity or a goddess. Um, in fact, our deities and our goddesses do not like when we invoke intranquil spirits. They don't like it, because what ends up happening is that this intranquil spirit is a extremely negative spirit that is lingering. It's probably it's almost like it's either being conjured from hell, or it's being conjured from some kind of, I guess I can describe it as like a middle ground, like it's kind of stuck between heaven and hell. Anyway, in tranquil spirits, the reason why I personally do not conjure them is because they seem to make matters worse. There are a lot of people who will conjure in tranquil spirits for either love work or either spiritual warfare. And what they find out is that they can often make things worse, especially if you don't really understand how to banish a negative spirit. Like, and I'm not talking about a person. People have their own spirits on them, which is important for you to banish them. But I'm talking about when it's an intranquil spirit, that this spirit could be thousands or either hundreds of years old. And at some point, this spirit left the earthly physical plane unfulfilled, broken and hurting. So when you call forth an intranquil spirit, it begins to try to get revenge. Is basically what it's doing. In fact, sometimes it'll make you think that it's doing the work for you, but then it's temporary, because then people start getting sick. People start It's bad. So I personally do not believe in conjuring in tranquil spirits. I think that working with the goddesses and working with the deities and then doing the regular work that you're doing to manifest using the elements, using energies and vibrations from certain herbs, I think that it is best to do your work that way. Even though sometimes, which, a lot of people like a quick and easy fix, but a quick and easy fix is not always the best thing. Okay. So, hey, one EQ. So let me get to the topic of discussion though. Okay. Many of you are dealing with several different things at the same time. And so what I have found is the best thing to do if you're being attacked by several different sources. For example, you may have somebody that could have been feeding off of your energy, which means that you don't have any energy. You're sick, you're not feeling well. So if that is one of the things that you're dealing with, that should take priority. Okay. So whenever I see that and I'm working with a client, I will deal with that first. Because if your energy is being drained, and you know when your energy is being drained because you feel very cloudy, you don't feel well, you don't have the energy to even talk. You're just like laying there, sick, and energy harvesting can make a person sick, and you can pretty much tell when that particular issue is having a very negative effect on a person because they don't have the energy to do anything, which is why if I let you know that there is somebody that is energy harvesting off of you, it is so important for you to handle that situation, which means that you may have to cut ties with that person. Okay. Otherwise, you'll just be drained. Okay. A lot of you guys may be dealing with spiritual warfare, somebody trying to hex you, somebody trying to put curses on you, somebody trying to mess with your money, somebody trying to do breakup on your marriage, just the kind of like those little petty things, you know what I'm saying? But these things can grow into very big things. And so you may be dealing with the energy harvesting, and then you're dealing with somebody doing spell work on you. And then you also may have a family bloodline problem, which will add to it. Then you may have your neighbors. Then you may have spirits in your house. And these things will sometimes compile on top of you at the same time, especially if you've been ignoring it and you haven't really done anything about it. Especially when spirit is calling you to do it. So a lot of people are dealing with several different things. This is one of the reasons why here lately, the past couple of months, when I've been working with my clients and students, I've been making sure that I call forward my goddess, because she is that supernatural being, or either gods. Some people work with Jesus, some people work with Saint Michael, some people work with Saint Expedite, some people work with El Agua. It really depends on like, you know, I guess what's going on and what is the situation that's going on at that time. And so if you are dealing with like several different things at the same time, you can become very overwhelmed. So what you have to do is you have to prioritize what is the most important thing. Well, number one, if you're being energy harvested, you got to take care of that. You got to take care of that. And then some of y'all are dealing with court cases, just like everything compiling. This is a time when suicides increase because people become overwhelmed. And being that I am just like one person, like if I'm dealing with somebody that has several different issues like this, I will let my goddesses stand in front of me. So this is the reason why I haven't been drained. I've went through some emotional stuff, but I haven't been drained. I've been able to do what I have to do for my family. In fact, like last night, I was woke up by spirit because I needed to be woke up because I was sleeping peacefully, like literally. And I was woke up by the grace of God because it was something that I needed to handle that was involving my child. So sometimes when something negative happens, it's actually positive because it gives you that, you know, so anyway, um, there are certain things that take priority and you have to deal with them one at a time. Okay. So, for example, there are many of you guys that have elders and parents working against you. They're under possession. Okay. Either by a spirit, either by some lower level demonic energies, or either indoctrinated beliefs. When your parent or elder does this, this makes you extremely vulnerable. This is the reason why it is so frowned upon. That is the worst thing you can do. See, I'm a mother of four, well, five, because my angel baby is like, I need to be included in that mom. So I'm a mother of five and I'm a grandmother. And so there would be no way I would ever be working against my children, ever, because you know what? That's going to make them more vulnerable with all of the crap that they have to deal with. But some of y'all do have elders, parents that are working against you. Hey, nighty night. Okay. A simple protection will work against root work and conjure. A lot of this stuff is coming internally. Some of y'all are also dealing with past life regressions. And so when you look at it, it seems like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? But at the end of the day, you have the wisdom, you have the information, you have the support system. Okay. So, for example, if you have a bloodline problem like that, because that's a problem, that is a problem. Okay. 9 times out of 10, if you're being energy harvested on, is probably because there's some kind of bloodline hex. Because there's a possibility that either the great grandfather or mother or grandfather or mother or your mother or father did not properly protect you from this or could have possibly sacrificed you. Okay. So this is something that takes priority. Once you deal with it, things will get easier because now you can deal with what you're having. Because if you don't have homeland security, that's what I call it. If you have a excellent family structure to where you have a mother, a father, or either a grandmother or a grandfather that is slaying this shit, literally, like if they have an interest to protect you and they are doing the work, you better be appreciative of that. Because if you have something like that going on, it's going to make you extremely vulnerable to, let's say, for example, that woman that's at your job that may be jealous of you throwing shit at you, or the neighbors throwing shit at you, or whatever issue that you have. It makes you more vulnerable because while everybody else is working against you, the people that are supposed to be your homeland security, Well, guess what? They didn't create that security for you. So there's no security there. So then you have to create that for yourself. And you have the power to do that. Okay. Um, it is very important, especially if you are a client, to please follow instructions. For example, if I tell you, go outside your front door and pour some salt, line your door with the salt, line your windows with the salt. It is important for you to follow direction, because I'm not saying that just to hear myself talk. I'm telling you that because that is one of the ways by which you can protect yourself. Because when you're trying to deal, mainly a lot of people, I'm going to tell you what the main aspect that is making people vulnerable is their parents and grandparents. It's making you more vulnerable, being that at some point they've either lost their way or lost their mind. So you have to do something about it. You have to do some kind of binding. There are all sorts of ways to bind people. You can do freezer spells. You can do bindings with, fruits and vegetables, lemons, limes, salt. Okay. So you can't feel bad for doing that, because if you have a parent that is attacking you, then that means that you don't have that parental protection, which is so important. And it doesn't really matter why. What does matter is doing the work to alleviate it. There are a lot of people that'll say, well, I'll just call to Jesus. Jesus Christ will help you. However, to me, it seems like it's not enough sometimes. And that's why I feel like Jesus will instruct you to do other things to protect yourself. So, especially depending on what bloodline you're under, sometimes certain deities can't help you. Okay, so it just really, really depends. This is what I'm saying when it comes to like Christian witches. This is why they will have Jesus as like Homeland Security or either Mother Mary, especially if your parent is not doing it. Because having parental protection is so important, especially for you witches out there. And let's face it, a lot of our parents are heavily under indoctrination, aka mind control. So what they will be taught, if you are a natural born witch that was born with the mark of the beast, instead of them having unconditional love for you, because I think that's very important, what they will do is they will work against you. They will work against you. They will demonize you. They will say, oh, so and so is a witch. This person is blah, blah, blah. And they won't know. Like, ignorance is our worst enemy. They won't actually realize what they're doing. And see, I think that protection between parent and child works both ways. Because if you protect your child will protect you. It's an even exchange of energy. If that bond is broken in any way, then you have war with the parent. So this makes you extremely vulnerable. It's not to say that it can't be done. Like, you'll make it, if you know what to do. Okay. So handle things in priority and you'll be okay, because a lot of the stuff that y'all are going through, I've been through it. The spiritual warfare, the psychic attacks, the baneful magic, I've been through it, and I've been able to survive it. Not only survive it, but flourish it. So if you just listen to me, you'll be okay. Especially my students. And see, a lot of the stuff that I do for my students, we have Zoom meetings. So I'll have you do certain things. Like, if I tell you to go out and get some ammonia, go get the ammonia, or either order it, go get it. I've been doing things kind of late in the witching hour. So if you guys need to have a meeting with me, then you can text me. Um, but ammonia is a chemical that will destroy toxic energy, and it works really fast. It works really fast. So that's the reason why I'll tell you go get some ammonia and get a pickle jar or either a mason jar, and I'll meet up with you at so and so time. Just make sure that you are following instructions, because if you follow the instructions, you'll be okay. Lately, it's been all about invoking the goddess, invoking, because a lot of people are drained. Okay. So it's kind of like now you need that extra help, that extra energy to help you. Yeah. Question about black salt around doors and windows. Does it have to be white salt? It can be either black or white. It can be black or white salt. Yeah, you can do all of that stuff, but see, when it comes to things that are coming internally through your bloodline, these are things that come through your bloodline. Because, okay, probably about 1,000 years ago, or maybe even 500 years ago, shamans and mediums and psychics and witches, they knew exactly what to do to protect from this. This is one of the reasons why, for example, very famous witches like Marie Laveau. This is the reason why Marie Laveau's grandchildren and her daughters still walk this earth. You can go and Google her children and grandchildren. Because if you notice, she has a lot of her family under her bloodline that survived a lot of this stuff. Okay. And so if you have a person, for example, if you come from a family of shamans and a shaman doesn't understand who they are, and let's say that shaman is your great grandfather, they don't know nothing about it. And shamans and mediums can make contact with other worlds, which can bring in some pretty messed up spirits. And so what ends up happening is that they fall under possession. And so in the last, I'll say 1,000 years, a lot of the knowledge got lost. Hey, Jean, you're welcome. Thank you so much for the blessings. Thank you. Thank you. I'll shade to you too. Um, I don't have a channel for students. I just kind of operate off of this channel for everything. And I do have a Patreon, but I'm not really using it for business. So I apologize for that. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go ahead and um, give me a second. So your petty enemies, like the people that really have no power over you, sometimes you have to put them on ignore and deal with what's really happening too. And those are maybe spirits, maybe demons, entities, and maybe even sometimes deities that could be coming from your for your bloodline. So make sure that you are prioritizing. If you have an issue with your bloodline, deal with that first. Then you want to deal with, or for me, a lot of times I will do 2 or 3 things at the same time. If I have an enemy attacking me, if I'm dealing with stuff on my bloodline, and then other stuff, I will juggle all 3 of those things at the same time. But I think that that comes first, because you're not, and I'm gonna tell y'all something, all sorts of stuff is happening. And it has to do with child sacrifice. And many of you are walking, talking, living sacrifices. So even at some point when you were a kid, if your parents said, I don't want you, I wish I never had you, and they never took it back, that to those demonic spirits says, oh, I can take the child. I can do what I want with the child. So that's why people have to learn to watch what they say. And if you do say something, you have to take it back. Because you can be driven to anger and say something. And again, your tongue, the reason why it is a weapon is because when you say words, you're invoking spirits. So, for example, if 20 years ago your parents said, I don't want this child, you may still be suffering 20 years later because there's a spirit or either a demon hanging around saying, okay, I'll take the child. I personally think that when that happens, it depends on what heard somebody say that. So that's why it's really important for you to watch what you say and take things back when you say things, especially if you're a parent. Especially yeah. And but some people stick to what they're doing. Like if you had a parent that did that to you and you wonder why you're still struggling, and then you're struggling with your relationship with that parent, and and the parent still is heavily indoctrinated, then you have a parent that is actively working against you. And that's pretty bad. And so they, if you are rebellious as a child against that, if you are rebellious, then that is called an instinct to survive. That's what that's called. Doesn't make you a bad kid. It just means that you have an instinct to survive. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't ever let nobody make you feel bad for that, because people will try to make you feel bad. And I would bind them. If my parent was attacking me, I would bind them from doing harm to me and my children, because usually, especially if the parent is knowing what they're doing and they have an agenda to sacrifice you and their grandchildren, and you're sitting up here, you love your family, you want your family to survive, um, but then you have this going on. And so it's nothing wrong with binding your parent from doing harm to you. Okay. It's nothing wrong with that. Especially if they have a God complex. And especially if they, like, for example, um, and I'm only using this as an example, if your mother was a witch and your father may have been a shaman, or either, but then the father says, you know, decides to be judgmental and ignorant and says, oh, your mother was a witch and you're a witch. I hate both of you. Now I'm going to attack both of you. It's and we've seen this happen throughout history. Then you don't have to do death magic. I mean, that's a bit extreme. It can piss you off, but you can simply bind them in some kind of way from doing any harm to you. Depending on the person that you're binding, if they can see that they can't really do that harm to you, um, then it will destroy them, because they'll be so dead set and hell bent, they'll be convinced by whatever belief or spirit that they have to destroy you using the same power that you have, that you may have gotten through them through the bloodline, then what are you going to do? You have to do something, you know, because the grandkids are depending on you. Your children are depending on you because, you know, that it happens. And don't feel guilty for that. Okay. Because, you know, what they should do is have a change of heart and stop doing what they're doing, is what they should do. But they may be either scared, confused, or power hungry. It could possibly just be about power, and that's it. And it's very hypocritical because typically if you're a witch, which I've dealt with a lot of cases like that, but if you are a witch and you, let's say, for example, you have a parent that is a Christian or a Catholic and they're extremely judgmental, and you may have made a mistake, and here we are 20 or 10 years later and they're still begrudging you for that mistake, then they're not Christian anyway, because if you're a Christian, you are supposed to believe in forgiveness, but they don't forgive. So then that's how you know that they're not working with anything remotely close to Jesus Christ. Okay. So you have to decide, am I going to survive this or not when it comes to that? And they can't say, oh, well, I should have just aborted you because you won't do as I say. Because at the end of the day, it was, you know, it was essentially God that blessed them with you. They're not God. Okay. So if you survive that, then that was the work of God, and it was God's will for you to survive that. So prioritize. This is the reason why if somebody calls me and says, I want you to do love work for me, I can't. And they'll say, why? Because you have an elder that has sacrificed you. You have to deal with that first. So, you know, and that's why I don't, because a lot of people say, well, I just want the love work done. And, you know, and I'll say, well, I'm sorry, you know, I need for you to deal with this first, and then we can do the love work later. Because, you know, that's self-love when you decide, okay, I need to deal with this. Because, you know, and I've seen all sorts of things happening. I've been through all sorts of things, you know, and typically it doesn't stop, and it is a failure of a parent to not stop the negative stuff that they're doing to their kids to cause problems in their life. um and so that within itself, with a lot of you, is the main issue. If you never actually deal with that issue and you've been avoiding that issue, or you're too scared, then you're going to have to be strong and deal with that issue. And I like air energy, I like fire energy, but you have to do something involving the earth, whether or not it's graveyard dirt, a lemon, a lime, salt. You know, if you have that kind of situation, um, I mean, you'll have to like literally keep candles going 24/7. And that is possible. You can actually order a case of black candles and just keep a black candle going for that situation. But I think that you have a much better outcome if you know, take that air energy and turn it into earth, um, which leads me to a new stone that I'm going to get. And it's basically lava. There's a couple of them that I have. Actually, the black obsidian is lava, but I've got a couple of other ones because, you know, that's how you can work with stones. So, but I've been extremely busy lately, and then also dealing with um I had a death in my family, and so and dealing with that, and then the several other things that I've had to deal with in addition to running my household, keeping food on the table. So, and I actually have been getting donations in, and I appreciate the donations because I needed them. I appreciate that because I've been dealing with a lot. Um, but so anyway, prioritize these things. You can't just say, oh well, because some people will talk about it as if it is just 3 p.m. conversation. Oh, I'm at spiritual war with my mother or my father, and so how's that steak? Is the steak good here? And so I'll say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. You're at war with your mother or even your sister. You're at war with your sister. Yeah, yeah, and that bitch did this or they did that. Honey, you need to do something about that. Because what they'll do is they'll say, oh, by the way, I'm at war with this person. And then I had this issue, that issue, that issue, and it's been going on for so and so and so long. And it's like there's a problem in your bloodline that you have to deal with. It's not to say that you can't forgive these people, but you have to do something about it. You can't just go, oh, this happened, but let's talk about this. We need to talk about what's going on with that because you're telling me a whole string of problems that you've been having. And, so those people that have parents, especially if your parent was a witch or a warlock and they protected you, oh my God, you were so lucky. You were so lucky to have that because a lot of people have parents that every single day they're cursing them, they're working against them, they're calling to spirits to mess them up. So you're extremely lucky if you have a parent that truly loves you or anybody that truly loves you and has an interest in protecting you. Okay. And yeah, so that should take priority. And I know that a lot of the elders are they're gonna say this heifer. Well, you know what? Make a better decision. Why are you still angry at your child for something that they did in high school that wasn't that big of a deal? Children are not slaves, they're individual people that have their own path in life. So I don't want to hear it. Okay. Now, if you have like a cut, like, so you have that, but then underneath that, you have a whole coven. You may have several covens. You may have a coven and then a church. And so, but deal with that first so that you'll be less vulnerable. Okay. Deal with that first. And it's not to say I'm going to do death magic on you. Everybody always think about, oh, because they probably do feel that they deserve to die for the things that they're doing. But, you shouldn't want their blood on your hands. I wouldn't do that. You could just bind them. And bindings do work because basically what a binding is that what it will do is even though they may throw the intent out there, and even though you may be temporarily inflicted or infected by that intent, it will bind their intent because their intent is to kill you. They want to kill you because you didn't do what they said. That's pretty extreme. You're doing something that I don't want you to do, so I want to kill you. That's not the energy of God. That's messed up. Okay. So if you're lucky, you're not going to end up with a situation like the Menendez brothers. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want you just want to do something to stop them from doing harm so that you can live life. And then aside from that, you just have to get over it. like a bad cold. You just have to get over it. You do, it's unfortunate, but guess what? Um, it happens. I guess you could say shit happens. You can't judge that and judge the rest of your life because of it. Otherwise, you won't survive it. And a lot of you guys have children, and you know that your children are being attacked. And that parent is nowhere to be found. They're not trying to reach you because they up to something. If that parent cared, they would be reaching out to you. They would say, hey, I'm protecting you. I'm here for you, but they're not. They're somewhere in hiding, being sneaky and conniving. Trust me. Either if they're very spiritual or religious or a witch or a warlock. So there's a story of several of the gods and goddesses, and I'll come back with that story. But right now we're dealing with this full moon that's coming up. There's actually this story about some of the gods that had to fight with their parents, and it's just a thing. You don't have to be depressed over it and want to die. Because you if you didn't have the love of that parent, then you have the love of God. Because if it were not for the source, or what they call the Most High, you would not be here to fight those battles. Okay. It's almost like being in a alternate universe to where we are all of the aborted children, but we're not. We weren't aborted. We're here. We're here, but and I mean, they want to prove that if you have children, your life is ruined because they want to blame you. Oh, I had these kids and these kids ruined my life. No, you were just not strong enough. You just was weak. You were weak-willed. It was the problem. And you needed somebody to blame. Okay. They needed somebody to blame. And since they had children, it was convenient to blame it on you, even though every single problem that you had came from them. That's why when my children have problems, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's me right there. Let me handle that. Let me handle that. That's me right there. If I gave birth to you, I will take accountability for everything that is happening to you. That's me as a parent, because that's what a true parent does. They take responsibility. A lot of parents will give birth. They will have you. You may be an anchor baby. You may be a love child, or you may have, God only knows what circumstances you were conceived under. And all of that will go into you. And then when they have you, and you may have bad spirits on you, or you may have something that, but they don't want to take responsibility for that child because it may be very hard, but they're not using or either applying the knowledge. They're just copping out. Because I know people that have been on their own since they was 10 years old. So yeah. And anyway, so prioritize that. You don't have to do death magic on them. Um, you know, uh, just because I'd let God decide that. Faith is everything. If your parent is throwing death magic at you and you can feel it, then you can definitely reverse it. Whatever it is, if it's death, destruction, you can reverse it. Doesn't mean that they're going to die. God is going to take the wheel on that. Because and you know what, it goes both ways. Sometimes it can be a child that could be attacking the parent, and the parent may be trying to make amends, and they don't, you know what I'm saying? So, but mainly the issue is an active parent actively attacking the child, actively, or not making good on whatever abuse that they did. They're just kind of like, and so the child may be seeking some kind of love or reassurance or security from that parent, You can't keep chasing that though. You have to just, like, for me, I'm the chariot. I'll move forward. Hey Gaia. I'm the chariot. I don't bother people. If I felt like something wasn't given to me or I was denied something as a child, I'm gonna move forward and get it for myself. That's just how I am. But I'm not gonna tell you how to deal with that because you never know how a person may feel about that. So, but for me personally, I would rather move forward and live my life. Okay. You got some of your elders are jealous of their children, jealous because they have more than them for some reason. And so if you have that situation, deal with it. It doesn't have to, necessarily be something that has to destroy you. You don't even have to obsess over it all the time. Just handle it and take care of it and live life. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Some of the some of the parents are the trolls. They're cyberbullying their kids. That's true. So anyway, back to what I was saying. These things tend to come to a head, especially when we have a full moon. So, start dealing with it now. And so everybody has an invested interest in letting go of their grudges, forgiving, moving on. Just because you forgive doesn't necessarily mean that a person has to stay around you. You know what I'm saying? Because it just, but it is what it is. I think people should forgive. I think people should, but it really depends. You know what I'm saying? It really does. It's very difficult to forgive when somebody has caused problems to the point where you're starving or either your child died or got locked up. That takes it too far. When people go too far in their intent against you, then you know sometimes it just, so yeah, that's why I tend to not bother people that are not pertinent to my life, because God only knows what they could be dealing with, and they could smite me. I ain't got time for that, because I know a lot of y'all are dealing with a lot. That's why I don't bother people typically, unless that person is bothering me. I don't bother people. I try not to. I am a psychic medium. I have been subject to go under possession, but I always snap out of it very quickly. Okay. So, um, ew, I think my cat farted. Yeah. Let me burn some rosemary leaf. Ew, I think my cat farted, y'all. Anyway, so just prioritize it, but a lot of these people that are arguing, they arguing with everybody, complete, just, they go out in society and they're shooting people and fighting people and beating up people and fighting with people at the Waffle House and stuff. Those are the people more than likely that need to deal with their issues that they have within their bloodline that they were either too ignorant to deal with or just don't know. These complete strangers out on the street, they don't know you. Your problem is what's happening internally with your family, and you need to deal with it. So, not to say that any of my clients are doing that, but the people that you see out there attacking people, they obviously have shit that they need to deal with that they don't want to deal with. Yeah. You too incompetent to forgive. Right. Right. Yeah, it is very difficult. It's more difficult to forgive a parent that has done that and to actually, have a relationship with them afterwards. It's very difficult because, you expect sometimes for your husband or your wife to betray you. You expect sometimes for your friends to betray you. Uh, mm, I'm not too forgiving of friends either, to the point where I'm going to just be like, hey, come over, let's have some dinner and wine. I can't. But or even your kids, but when it's a parent and they failed you, it's very difficult to forgive for that, because a parent can, they do have a certain amount of authority for so long to where they can, it's very difficult to look at that parent again and say, okay, yeah, we just gonna rock it out. It's a very difficult. If I were a parent that betrayed my child in that manner to the point where I took it there, just because I wanted to either control or I was jealous of my child, I would expect for them to never speak to me again. I wouldn't even try. I would just forgive myself and move on. If I made a mistake, that's just because, it depends on what they did. If they just yelled at you or something, but if they destroyed your childhood and destroyed half of the rest of your adulthood, it's kind of like, damn, I didn't even get to live. You just try to destroy everything, every good thing that I had. You just try to destroy it. You wouldn't even let me live. You wouldn't even let me have anything in life. So that's something that is like, I don't know. I don't know if I would be so forgiving. I would forgive, but I think that I would not be able to trust that parent again, especially if they are destroying the relationships with your children, your husband, your wife, your your boss, the people in your life. They're just completely destroying everybody in your life, because they want to destroy you. That's really messed up, and you know that, creating that kind of misery for your child. You can't just expect them to forgive you, and it happens. But what a lot of people have found out, that even when they forgave, the parent ended up doing it again. They just, you know so yeah, that's pretty bad. um yeah, and so that's why sometimes you have to have discernment. There's certain things I won't forgive. I see you sending any energy to try to burn my house down, and you've done it to every house that I've lived in. You've tried to destroy everything my whole life. That's like years and years of, like, that's like it can sometimes be, uh is it centuries? Century is 100 years. I think a decade is 10 years. It's like decades of trauma, and not only that, stress on yourself, because you end up in poor health because you've been stressed out for so long. And people can't just keep saying, oh, well, that's just material stuff. That's not important. Excuse me. So I'm supposed to go and sleep in a tent outside? Is that what I'm supposed to do? In the element, with snow piling up over my butt? Is that what I'm supposed to do? And some of y'all, everything that you obtain, the parent or either the grandparent or either your sister or your brother is trying to destroy it everywhere you go. So it's kind of like, for me, I'm like, I'm gonna choose who to forgive, and it's not a coincidence that everywhere I go, you're creating these issues for me. So, it just, yeah. Oops, sorry. Hold on. No, no, no. Sorry about that. Okay. Um, so that's why it's pretty much a good idea to be a strong parent that loves your children. Because that, um, especially if you've got witchy kids, because these kids are being affected by all kinds of spirits, and they may do something, that you may not like, but that's still your kid. And you can't just, you know Yeah. Yeah, seriously. You know? So that's all I'm saying. And but anyway, that's factually what's going on with a lot of people, and people get confused because, even the minions, because anybody can become a minion of a elder and attack you. You still have to go to the source of that evil. And for a lot of us, the source of that evil could possibly be our own family members. And then you have the external sources of evil, which is people like, they may be throwing stuff at you, destruction magic at your marriage. They may be throwing destruction magic at your health. And so, but you got to handle that stuff first, or either at the same time. That way you don't end up the three of pentacles in the inverted position. You end up being the three of pentacles in the upright position. Seriously. So, yeah. Oh yeah. No, no, no. Mm-mm. You right about that though. At those times where you can't be strong, your deities will be strong for you. And we're past the days of being monotheists. Monotheism is totally becoming a thing of the past. A lot of times, even for rituals, I have to invoke several goddesses. Being that I do work for people, I'll invoke up to 12 goddesses in one evening, because those are the witches, because I don't have a coven. That's my coven. I will invoke up to 12 goddesses per night, because I got to deal with my own stuff that I'm still dealing with. I got to deal with my client stuff. So that's why I do it. So, the whole monotheism thing, to where you just stick with one deity, that, and they understand, deities are not, especially if you're doing work for people, deities are not jealous like that. They'll know. That's just like Yin and Ya. She's where I go to, like when I get off of here, I'm gonna get in the shower. She's gonna heal me. She's gonna relax me. She's gonna cleanse me of, everything I've dealt with all day for the last 24 hours. But Yimi Ya, she's not selfish. She don't mind me going and working with, uh, you know, whoever I gotta work with, because I deal with so much. So, you know. In fact, she's the one that encouraged me. She said, you need to go to this person, you got a lot of stuff going on. Let them handle that so that you can rest. Okay. So, and Jesus Christ as well. Jesus Christ encourages you to, at least he encouraged me. He said, look, you got all this stuff going on. And, and I don't even get, Jesus Christ is not trying to be like the one, like the most powerful. Like, he don't mind you working with other gods. Like, that's kind of ridiculous that people think that, but you know, anyway. So yeah, prioritize. We do have a full moon coming up. Please stop ignoring these issues and take control of your life and your spirits. Stop ignoring this stuff, because it's not just going to go away. Okay. And if you're a practitioner, my advice would be invoke the goddesses. Stop invoking in tranquil spirits. They're making your situation worse, as well as your clients. But I guess it's all good. You know what I'm saying? When it boils down to it. But who wants months and months and years and years and years of struggle? Because if you send an intranquil spirit to a person, they can come to a person that is experienced and very strong that can send that in tranquil spirit back to you. So why even create those problems for yourself? Okay, but there's a lot of practitioners that they like, I ain't about to listen to you. I'm gonna do what I want to do. You don't have to listen to me. I'm not forcing this on you. It's just friendly advice. That's all it is, just friendly advice. Because I've recognized a lot of intranquil spirits, and they're just kind of prolonging the struggle. You know what I'm saying? They are, um, and I can tell instantly when somebody is sent an intranquil spirit to me, and I get rid of it quickly. Yeah. So anyway, good luck to everybody. We have a full moon coming up. We'll be in full moon energy in about 4 days. Okay. So, um, of course, I'm as a spiritualist, I will be doing a huge ritual on the full moon, like I always do. And I will have, sometimes I will invoke up to 20 goddesses at once because I ain't about to go through it. I ain't about to go there because I like to relax and watch some TV or something. hmm Do I have any advice for people who feel called to do root work and conjure for deep healing from bad family lineage? Yeah, that's what I do. I just gave y'all the advice there. That now, as far as what you need to do, that is something that I am forbidden to reveal. That's something I'm forbidden. I can't just come out here and tell you what to do. If you're a student, I can tell you what to do. I can show you. But if I just tell people what to do because I've been dealing with it, and trust me, there can sometimes be, it's not going to make things 100% perfect all the time, but it will work most of the time, and it will save you from death and destruction, homelessness, hunger, sickness. Okay. um but you have to make some kind of sacrifice, which is why I charge for my classes, because there is a ritual for the energy harvesting stuff. There's a ritual for that. I can't come and just tell you what that is. There's several. You really, what you end up having to do is one main thing, but there's also several other things that you can do. But these things, I can't just come and say it. I can't just come and tell you, unfortunately. In fact, I got a direct message from Spirit tonight that this stuff has to be kept under wraps. And the reason why is because the people that use that, there's people that take advantage of that. Then they can go and do certain things to destroy the seeds of that knowledge. And we cannot risk that. That's why it has to be secret. And if you pay for the class and make the sacrifice, and you're like one of those types of people that, I don't have any students that are trying to do me dirty, none whatsoever. Because so I don't feel that I have that issue, even though that issue kind of reared its ugly head like last year. But that ain't happening no more. I trust all of my students, all of my clients, 100%, because even the negative is the bad. But as far as the knowledge that is very sacred on what to do about this stuff, I can't just tell you, because there's certain where I show y'all a lot of different workings that I do. But as far as like, there's stuff that I have working on and that I will not show to people. I'm not going to put that stuff on camera. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't show that I have going on. Okay. So now, as far as deep healing, what I can tell you is that Yemiya Abatala, there's a lot of different healing angels. And so if and they will bring you that knowledge eventually. They'll bring you that knowledge that you need. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I got to get out of here because I got some work that I got to do before I go to bed. Um, I'll catch y'all later. Okay. I gotta go up here and I gotta go up here and get Jacob in the bed because he's normally asleep right now. I've been getting him in the bed at a decent hour, but I gotta get him in the shower and get him in the bed because for some odd reason, I wonder why he's awake. So we ain't gonna get into that though because we ain't gonna give it power. Okay. So I will catch y'all later. Love and light to y'all. Peace, blessings, all of that stuff. Okay. I'm here if you need me. Um, okay. All right. Blessed be.